This is Lady Anne, owner of KPNL Radio and hostess of the Caravan Library of Lore, and I support Tessa. As an experiencer myself, I have filed my own reports with them, and the professionalism and heart they have shown my case goes above and beyond. If you have had experience, I cannot recommend Tessa enough.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston's Admiral from Ghostbusters. I want to let you know that Brian Stacy, he's created the Experiencer Support Association, TESA. You can check them out at www.tesacan.org. Now, they investigate paranormal, UFO, and provide support to experiencers. But you can check them out at, like I said, www.tesacan.org and see for yourself if they're really Ghostbusters. I can tell you this, they are a non-profit organization. So good luck, have fun, and keep it.
Good evening. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. Tessa is a UFO, paranormal, and paracryptid investigation association. We investigate everything belonging to the global phenomenon linked to highly strange and unexplained experiences. We also connect experiencers with other experiencers, creating a safe, positive environment to engage and discuss this phenomenon without judgment, criticism, or retribution. From the land of the white rolling sands, on the southeasterly tip of Georgian Bay, to all of you listening around the world, as we simulcast live on KPNL Radio, we salute you. If you want to go back and listen to our previous episodes, go to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be instantly notified when we are live, not only for these episodes, but every single element Tessa has to offer. On our website, tessacan.org, we have something for everyone. We have support for experiencers, data for independent researchers, and places to advertise for professional partners. Good evening, everybody. Today is Thursday, September 30th, 2021, and I, Ryan Stacy, am your host this evening. I am a licensed private investigator, a citizen journalist, and the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To super chat, click the $ next to your name in the comment box. Remember that all donations go back into the mission. If you're catching this on the replay, please consider becoming a member and unlock bonus content, including behind the scenes and extended footage on new project developments and investigations. Just click the big blue button that says join. Our guest tonight for season 3, episode number 31, is Kevin McDougal. Kevin has had experiences with spiritual beings since a young child. He first recognized a UFO sighting at age 12 and is an avid fan of NASA space flights. However, it took him years to find someone to talk with about the spiritual beings he saw and his UFO sightings. He has since decided to always communicate with others about their experiences, and he started investigating the paranormal shortly after. Kevin is aware of the spirits surrounding him, and he believes the evidence shows extraterrestrial life has been here on planet Earth for thousands of years. All of this keeps him searching for answers to the substantial questions of our place in this cosmos. Also, Kevin is another new volunteer for the Experiencer Support Association. So, Kevin, put on your rabbit hole, or put down your rabbit hole. Put on your tinfoil hat. We're about to go down a rabbit hole. See what happens when I look away from the script? Look at that. How you doing?
Nice. Doing good, Ryan. Thank you for having me on the show.
No worries. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of the team. Nice to meet you. As per usual, we're going to start it off with the icebreaker from Tim, the Demon Guy Morrison. You can find him on Facebook at the Demon Guy and on Twitter at Demon Guy Canada.
I forgot about that. I totally forgot about Tim's question of the day.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. So as for those who don't know, the icebreaker, Tim makes a question for me, and I read it live on air, and to get the show going, set the mood. And what does he say? What cartoon would you like to live in for a week?
Ooh,
That's a good
probably Rick and Morty.
I was going to say that myself, actually. That's funny. Yeah, that was funny. I was thinking myself, yeah, Rick and Morty. Only watched a couple episodes of it, though. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I feel like that's a good jam. Cool. All right, thank you, Tim. All right, so Kevin, why are you the way that you are? Let's get into that. Why don't we? Where do you want to start? You want to start with experiences from back in the
We
day,
can start. We can start back in the day, or we can go by categories if you want. We can go UFO, or we can go spirits.
Well, let's start with the first experience of anything in the ultra spectrum that you've encountered, and we'll go from there.
I started out with a lot of spiritual visitations, put it that way. And at first, I thought it was just me. I shared a bedroom with my older brother at the time. We were in a smaller house, and at that point, in our when we were growing up, we shared a bedroom. My parents' bedroom was next to us. My sister was on the other side. There was always a lot of stuff waking me up, a lot of noises, a lot of things going on in that room. And they tended to be, like always, situated around the closet and the window area. Once in a while around the door. And I always thought at first it was just stuff I was seeing. And then I started talking to my brother about it. And he would always tell me, just, go to bed, pull covers over your head, go back to sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then one night, whenever I was bugging him about it, he looked over, and I know he saw something over there because he freaked out, pulled the covers over his head, and tried to go back to sleep. And when I tried to talk to him more about it that night, he climbed up and he wouldn't talk to me at all. And he stayed that way, and he went through the rest of the night that way with the covers over his head and everything like that. And that was the first time I realized that it wasn't just me. And it was some kind of confirmation to me that somebody else could see what the heck was going on. And I was seeing some kind of a shadow figure down at the other side of the room. And that was happening night after night after night after night. And the thing was waking me up and just trying to get my attention in general. And I could never figure out what was going on, but I just knew it was bugging the crap out of me, and it was scaring me. And to say the least, I didn't sleep much as a child. I only slept a couple hours a night, and then the rest of the night I'd be really restless and freaking out because of stuff going on in the room and everything like that. My brother still, to this day, would never talk to me about any of the stuff going on in the room. I just tried to talk to him. It was about 5 months ago. we had a situation that came up that he needed me to help him with, and we spent some time together, probably about 5 or 6 hours, spread out about 3 days. And so we got to, we were in a car together a lot of time, and if not, we were here in my living room, and he even played my guitar some and did some other stuff. We never really talked about anything over the years, but we could pick up, the last sentence we were at, talking about something, and we could just continue on. If the last thing we were talking about was the latest Springsteen album or something like that, we could pick up that conversation where we left it. But this 5 months ago, we really had some good, deep conversations about a few things, and that was probably the most we ever connected in our life. And I tried to bring it up during one of the conversations, and he'd just get up and walk out of the house. So, still to this day, I mean, he's 61 years old, and he still doesn't want to talk about it.
So you both saw something, and at a very young age. So how many years apart are you guys? He's the older brother or younger brother?
He's my older brother. He's 3 years older than I am. I'm 58.
Okay. And, so he may not want to. Are you guys? Does he play that big brother role at all?
Nah, he was always kind of a punk to me.
Okay.
I mean, he would protect me or stuff like that from his friends and stuff like that, but he picked on me just as much as anything else, and we never did brotherly things. But
I was just going to suggest that maybe he. Sorry, go ahead.
I know he loved me and stuff like that, but we were never going to be buddies or anything like that, and he didn't want me ever hanging around with his little brother and hanging around with him and his friends. And I don't blame him. He's 3 years older, and I was just. He had graduated right when I was starting high school, so it was that kind of leap. He was born in the summer and I was born in the spring. So even though he was only 3 years older, it was like 3 years and like 9 months or something like that. So it was that extra. It was that extra span in there. So we were separated by 4 grades. Put it that way.
Okay. I understand. What I was going to suggest is maybe he was playing the big brother role by not talking about it because he doesn't want to. Maybe he is afraid of it. Maybe something like that is preventing him. So what exactly do you remember? So you said you saw a shadow figure. So besides the obvious of it being a black shadow, is there anything else that kind of stood out in your mind that made it like non-human or not normal?
Well, that's the deal is that I blocked so much stuff out from when those things happened when I was younger.
Okay.
I thought they were ghosts, and I just put it back in my mind that they were spirits back at the time. But I'm in the process right now with a psychologist, and we're getting ready to start some hypnotherapy, regression therapy, to try to pull some of this stuff out. We're not actually digging for that kind of stuff, but we're trying to pull out some of my memories and stuff that I blocked out from over the years, just to see what happens, to see if it's going to be too much or what comes up. And because when I started talking about this before, I never did talk about it except with one lady back in my teens, because everyone I tried to talk to at the time, this was when I was like 7, 8, 9. I talked with my mother about it, father and brother, sister. I had talked to my reverend about it. My grandmother, she was, about
Did
the
they have an
spirits and stuff.
explanation for it?
No. Everybody, as far as my mother and everybody else was like, these are things you shouldn't be thinking about, and you shouldn't be, having these kind of thoughts in your head. And the only person I ever had decent conversations about spiritualism was the mother of one of my friends, and she was very religious and she was very spiritual, and so she kind of melded the two together, and she explained things very nicely to me about spirits and stuff as best she could do it without upsetting anything that would um, make things hard between my family and my church and anything else like that. And very and to find out her husband just died here. She died about 10 years ago, but her husband just died last week. And so because of COVID, I couldn't go. None of us could go to the funeral. They didn't even have a real funeral, which was very sad. And I wanted to at least see her son and stuff and their daughter, because the family meant a lot to me. But I was, in North Carolina most of the time, and they were back there in Ohio. After college and everything, but so it's been kind of a real emotional last week or so.
Well, I'm gonna cut out there. I think the internet cut just for a quick second. You still there?
Yeah, still here. Yeah, I don't want to ramble on too much about that kind of stuff, but it made a huge difference to me to have somebody to at least talk to me like an adult, or talk to me like a person about it, and not just tell me to mind your own. You're a child. You don't need to talk about stuff, and this is not stuff that's It was most of the stuff I got was the demonic stuff, and you're a good boy, and you shouldn't talk about things like that, and so it at least made me feel like I was being understood, and it helped me deal with the situation a little better. And at least with her, she told me about the best thing to do was just to sit through the thing and to go ahead and pray, and if I needed to leave the room or whatever, to get through the nights and stuff like that. If I needed to go sleep on the couch or whatever it might be to get out of that room. And that did help some at that point. And it wasn't but another couple years that we finally moved out of that house and into another house, as this particular house. And once we got here, I started experiencing this. We got separate bedrooms and everything, and I was in an upstairs room that had another room off of it. They had no windows or anything, and it had no doors going off except into my bedroom. And at night, things would be thrown around in that room, and it wasn't the same spirit or ghost, but it was another one. It was a different energy and a different, it was like more of an angry and more of a evil type presence. I don't want to say evil necessarily, but because I don't like that word. Okay. But it was more of an anger and more of I'm out to upset you kind of thing. That's the best way I could put it. Later on, I realized that I believe it was the man that owned this house long ago. He lived here quite long part of his life, and he was a very bigoted, very offensive guy. He used to stand out. He'd chase people around. He didn't want people even walking down the sidewalk in front of his house. If they weren't, of, his same classification and same status and everything else. And he would literally go out and take a hoe and chase them out. And if they just walked, he would hit them with it. I mean, it was that bad. The neighbors still talk about how the ones when they were kids, the kind of stuff he would do and stuff. He's just a bad person in general. And
Okay. And you think because of that, that's that negative energy may are you speculating that it may be that individual?
I think so. Well, I think that's who it was. And I think he didn't want to get out of this house. He just wanted to stay here, and that's why he lingered on here. He wanted to keep protecting this house and keep this place to be that kind of a situation, and that's why I feel he stayed here.
We don't currently have a definitive answer for what happens when we die. Residual energy, you know, like the soul is energy, it transfers, it leaves the body, and if you know, it's possible. It's very high probability, but I just can't confirm it. But you sense the negative with this one. Is it possible it's the same spirit just having a bad day though than the one you saw, or you're dead set that it's something different?
I think it's totally different than what I experienced at the other house. In fact, at the other house, I'm believing that it was more of a that it might even have been a visitation, an ongoing visitation from, and that's what I'm hoping to clear that up. I'm not hoping that that's what it is. I'm just hoping to clear that up with some.
Well, if you believe that to be a positive visitation, then there's nothing wrong with that. If that helps as well, there's like what you take from it drives you too, right? Sharing your experiences. You're not the only person that has experienced this shadow figure phenomenon too. The study, as you know, with the ultra spectrum report and all that, the data that I've been collecting, I do know that majority of our reports are reported as positive events. It's not as it's very rare, according to this study, that these things, those shadow figures at least, arrive with negative intention. So, I mean, have you seen that positive one since then? I suppose if these are two separate entities, where have you seen the good one again?
I've never considered them good, okay? But I've never considered them bad. Okay, they've been troublesome. They've been, you know, aggravating. They've disrupted my life, but I've never considered them doing anything that actually physically harmed me. But they've never been anything of a good. They've never been a good omen. They've never been something that enriched my life, as far as I know it. So that's why I never got when people talk about these are positive things, I've never been able to put a positive stamp on it. But I wasn't there to put a negative stamp on it necessarily. But I just never saw anything constructive from it. If you know what I'm talking about. They were so I was never able to put a positive ID on any of this stuff, but they all leaned toward the negative side. Everything was against what it was, even if it wasn't directly malevolent. But nothing was helping me, as far as I knew, ever. Okay, from any of the visitations. So that's one of the things I've always had a real questioning and a real I look at a lot of people's experiences and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, you know, I've never, you know, had it that way. I've never saw it that way, and I still don't have any reason to believe it to be that way for me. Not that it's not that way for them, but it's just not that way for me.
Well, the idea of having something present while you're sleeping in a comfortable environment in your home, something you don't recognize, even if it's your grandmother standing there watching you sleep to check to make sure you're okay, and you can't see her. Like that's terrifying. I mean, the way that these the way that these entities are appearing, they don't really, they're not doing it in such an obvious way to make you feel comfortable. It's really hard. So would you, I guess, so Chantel has a question too. She said, how did the shadow figure try to gain your attention? And I like that question because I kind of want to go down that way too, to kind of figure out more in detail of like, yeah, how did you first notice it? Describe it in a little bit more detail. And then I might segue into an interesting parallel, if depending on what you say.
Well, that's the there's a lot of physical type things, noise as far as the closet door closing and hitting on the. They were wooden sliding doors, and whenever they would hit the edge of the closet, they would make a bunk, kind of a like almost like a drum sound, like a wooden, you know. So that was a really distinctive sound that the closet door was being moved. I would actually have my covers pulled, tugged on, my feet touched, like maybe my leg touched, tugged on, or something
What is it?
like
What does
that.
it feel like to be touched? What describe the touch? How does that feel?
It's almost like somebody just lightly tugging on you, just like grabbing you by the around the ankle or around the foot, and just tugging on you. And it's not like it's not like they've been grabbed and yanked and jerked you. It was more like they got the grip and then started to pull. And so it's almost like they didn't mean for them, almost like it didn't mean to wake you up, but it wanted to wake you up when it got to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
I want to wake you up, but I don't want to wake you up until we've got you at a certain point to make a point to you. I want to get you, 6 inches off the bed before you wake up, so something's going on. You're just, because if you just think somebody touched you, then you think it was just a dream or something like that. But if you're slid down 6 inches off the end of the bed and you're a kid, you're only 4 foot, 8 inches or something like that, and the bed's, 6.5 foot long or whatever it might be. You didn't move that way down the bed from the head down to the thing till your feet were hanging off. When you normally sleep with your head on the pillow way up at the head of the bed.
And it's not a normal movement while you're sleeping either, right? You wouldn't move down. I mean, that'd be kind of weird, but it's not common. It's not common movement. So why? So what I'm hearing too with this closet, it's very interesting because, I've seen Men in Black reports about closets. I've seen shadow figures in doorways, arches, closets. Closet seems to be like the portal, like the most common area, but like it's a small room with a wall with clothes in it 9 times out of 10. Why do you think it was in the closet? Why the closet? Why not in the doorway or beside the bed?
Well, that's just the thing. I never knew if it was just there because it retreated back in there so it could be hidden and try to, or if that's where it was coming out of, if that's where it stayed, or what the dealio was. I never could figure out what all was going on and what the issue was and why. Those are the questions that drive me insane, or I think drive people crazy, is when they're trying to figure what are they trying to do? What is their motivation? And you're trying to figure out what are they wanting, or what is it? Just leave me alone. Why? And that's what drives you nuts. Is there's so many people around. Why don't you bother them? Just leave me alone.
Yeah. So not just why there. The question, not just the question of why there, but why you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I still don't know. I can sit here. I'm sensitive enough to know right now whenever there's a spirit on the other side of the room, or there's somebody or some energy in the room, I can pick it up. I don't sit there and see straight on looking at something. I don't sit there and look straight on at a spirit and can tell you what kind of clothes they're wearing and all this other stuff like that. But I can describe you the energy that's over there.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you if it's calm energy. I can tell you if it's something that's aggravated, or if it's like questioning or troubled, or if it's nervous energy, or what might be, and where it's at exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't, it's not like I can hear the person talking, or see them moving around, or, stuff like that. Once in a while, I'll be able to see, you know, something move out and step up quick. Or
Okay.
like a couple weeks ago, I saw an actual spirit on the staircase when I went over to feed the cats. Now, this is the first time I ever saw a spirit that was white. I've never seen a spirit that was white before.
Okay.
And they come down the steps, and I'm looking over where the steps were. I'm looking at them. The spirit had been up at the top of the steps, and then when I went down to feed the cats and I turned back around, I looked up, and the spirit was like up at the sixth step. I could see where its feet were, and the bottom of its clothes. It's like dress or whatever was hanging down there. And it wasn't bright white or nothing like that. It was just white in a shadow. So it looked, like, somebody had white cloth on or whatever. And it was grayish color because it was in the shadow. And
could you see the face at all?
No, when I was looking there, I was looking at the bottom foot and a half of,
Yeah.
from on the sixth step up, that was right at my, right at my vision height, where I was leaning up, where I just getting up and, putting the food in the cat dish. And I didn't scream or nothing or anything. I sensed it before I looked up that there was something there. So I looked up over there. And that was gone.
Now, was this a different house, or a same house that you've already had an encounter in?
I've got a lot of encounters in this house. This house is
So do you think it's the house, or do you think it's you? Like, what? There's got to be a constant. Or there should be.
I think it's twofold. I think this house there's a river that's like 100 feet from here. The river's down like 75 feet down. We're in higher ground, but we're only like 100 feet from it. There's also a main road, like a highway, not a highway, but a country highway.
Okay.
And it also has like the power lines that go along a highway like that go out to the country from downtown and stuff like that, from the power plants are going. So it has a decent amount of power going there between here and the river. The phone lines and all that go to another, other towns and stuff are right here I'm one house away from the corner. On the other side of that road is the entrance to a park, and the very edge of that park is right there, and then the drop off to the river. And it just seems like this house is constantly catching spiritual energy coming up and down that river and down this road. It's like this place is on a highway, a spiritual highway. And I don't like the term vortex because it's just so overused, and it's got to be a worn out term, and I don't think there's a place that I'm going to walk through. It's going to be swirling all around, and that kind of thing. But spirits seem to come in and out of here at times. They're just visitations. Then there are other spirits that stay here. I know there's a man and a woman here, and then there's another male spirit that stays downstairs in the basement. I think the guy that used to be here when I was a teenager, I don't sense him anymore. And if he's up there, he's awfully darn quiet. He doesn't want to mess with me anymore.
Okay.
But I have other spirits come and go through here. I even have animal spirits come and go through here.
Okay. How can you tell the difference between an animal spirit and what would you call the other spirit? A human spirit?
Well, the other ones are human, and then there are other types of spirits that I don't, they're whatever spirits. I don't know. I can't put my finger on them. I don't know what they are.
Well, you mentioned that you can feel, right? So like that empathic ability among you. So how does an animal spirit feel versus a human spirit versus the ones that you don't know? And by the way, Chantel has said that she can relate to you and she considers you a brave soldier. So thanks for sharing.
Animal spirits are usually moving through, and they don't carry a lot of they don't carry the emotion and stuff along with them. It's just light energy coming through. And the other thing is, I still have one of the cats that my mom had, and I took care of for like 10 years. He walks across the bed. I can feel his footsteps come across the bed, and he'll come and touch me one time. I'll feel his footsteps coming across the bed, and then he'll come up and touch me, and then he'll go walk around me, and the other cats aren't in the room. They are sleeping, hard asleep. Because I'll get up and come out here, and one will be up in 6 foot up in the cat's nest, 6.5 foot up, and the other one will be sleeping over here on my recliner. And both of them will be out, so that if I touch them, they'll jerk out of it in a sleep. So they're down and out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get from time to time I get a shadow figure of a cat sitting there in the window, and it's not like a shadow figure like you look at it like an outline, but this is a whole formed cat. And I'm pretty sure it's that same male. He looks just like that male did. And he sits right there, the same place where that cat's at. And I'll actually get up thinking it's my other male that's here now. And I'll reach over to touch him, and my hand will just go right into him. And he'll still be there. And then a minute later, he'll be gone. And if I walk across the room, he'll still be there. Turn the light on, he's not there. I can walk back across the room, walk over, sit on the edge of the bed, walk over to the other side of the room. He's still there. And he's a 3D shaped shadow in midair of darker space. And he's right there. And he's just visiting. And I've talked about this a couple times. I don't talk a lot about it because it's kind of a little too freaky to be talking about it all the time. And I don't talk about this to my psychiatrist or my psychologist or anything like that. I don't have all those folks because I'm wacky. I am because I have to take medications for pain, so I have to be monitored by them every month by the state and stuff like that.
There's no judgment here. No judgment. Thank you.
I recommend, if you have the opportunity and you get it paid for by somebody, to talk to a psychologist or on a regular basis, because it's great to help you work out stuff.
Are they comfortable with this topic when you do share this topic with them? How are they helpful?
I've talked about And one of them that I had before was not helpful at all,
Okay.
and they were very uncomfortable talking about any of it, especially UFOs. They could relate to, yeah, I got a yeller cat that looks a little bit like him or her. I got after the COVID crisis came up. We'd taken a break, um, and when that break came up before they got doing things on the Zoom and everything like that, I went ahead and was able to switch back to a counselor I had before that was a little bit more well, she's more educated, but she was also more experienced in doing different types of psychological experiments and stuff. She'd use right brain, left brain kind of stuff. She'd use physical things that would go back and forth between one side and the other side to help with deal with my pain and stuff like that. And she was just I thought she was just a little bit more hippie.
Okay.
So she was a little bit more open to some things, and she has been. She's just a little bit more open. She's not she actually knows somebody as a friend who has a paranormal group.
Okay.
She doesn't go visit them. I mean, she doesn't hang out with a paranormal group or anything like that. She doesn't do stuff with the group or anything, but she knows somebody who's in a paranormal group that's a friend of hers. So at least she's not
Yeah,
against
because
that kind of.
it's hard. It's hard for somebody to be in that field to endorse it or to share as well. But allowing you to speak about it and not judging you, that's good. Like we need that, because maybe they do believe and they just can't tell you that because then it would encourage it because they can't prove it as well. And maybe the other one who was hard, who also didn't say anything, just was hard because they subconsciously believe it doesn't exist, but they also can't say anything. So I find that that very interesting. You are aware that we have Experiencers Anonymous, right?
Yeah, I don't ever do anything anonymous, and but
No,
I am
it's the
more than
same.
willing
It's the
to.
same idea, though. Our next one's October 16th. I would recommend you give that a go if you can make it, because that would help. Uh, that would help you as well.
Yeah, it's like I really like the idea of Experiencers Anonymous because you're giving people there's a lot of people out there afraid to talk. I've got over the point of being afraid to talk, and I'll talk with anybody about anything. My life is total open book anymore. I'll blab, blab, blab about anything. All my experiences are all open. One way or the other, I've talked about them on some web thing or on cable TV, or some other thing. I've talked about everything about, and if not, it's open. It's open record.
Yeah.
So, um,
That's a brave thing, and that's good. You're comfortable, and but you weren't like that before, right? You had to work to get that way,
it
and
took a long.
so, but you made it. So good work, good job, and you're sitting here today, and I'm learning from you. I don't, I like to listen because I learn. I'm trying to understand. Like I said, why are you the way that you are? I mean, there's this normality about it. I don't think it's weird anymore. It's just so much stuff is happening to so many people that like it can't be paranormal anymore. It should be just be normal. This You're not the only one that can see things. You're not the only one that can sense things. I think we can accept that that's happening. I think the hard part is trying to understand why you can and I can't, or why why you and not why that ability and not another. So have you had any contact experience when you were a kid, or near death experience, anything prior to that that shadow figure? Anything that you can think of that might have just turn the switch on, or do you think you were born that way, this way?
I think I had a lot of concussions.
Okay.
You know, concussions from like, head trauma and stuff like that. There was abuse. Um, Plus, there was times that I had an older brother and older sister, and um, I was a lot of times pushed into things. I
Okay.
did get knocked out, slammed my head into, like wooden furniture and stuff. And
But you
had to,
saw the shadow figure before this happened, though, right?
no, that was when I was about 2.5, 3 years old. 3 years
Right.
old. That's my
Right. So all those
that's not,
concussions and things like that wouldn't, that they didn't exist then. So you had a fully operating brain at that time, and you were still able to see. Maybe
yeah.
the injuries probably made in some cases, brain injuries actually enhance the ability sometimes. So I just didn't know which way you were going with that, but I just want to stop you before you might have said that that's the reason for it. I don't think so at all. Like you didn't have anything
My
wrong in the beginning. So
my mom and my grandmother told me that when I was a baby, first born and stuff like that, that I really never slept. I never closed my eyes and stuff. I know I had to sleep somehow, but they said at any time of the day or night, they go in to see me and walk into the bedroom, my eyes would be open. I wouldn't be crying or saying anything or doing anything. I just had my eyes open and looking around the room. So something was keeping me occupied,
mm-hmm.
watching something going on, and I don't know what it would have been or what, but I just wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't crying my eyes out or screaming or yelling, and I would just lay there checking things out, and which I always thought was very strange about what it would have been that would be keeping me occupied um, enough to keep me from sleeping and crying and doing the regular stuff that a 6-month-old baby or whatever um, would normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that was just the stuff that I've heard about me, as a newborn and stuff like that. Um, but getting on past that, I don't think any of this stuff was brought on by you know any real damage or stuff like that at that point. Um, there's I never got struck by lightning or anything as far as I know, or
So
any type of
yeah. Then that's just a normal thing. That's what I'm saying. Like I mean, like it's some people uh, are born this way, and that could very well be you in this case. So let's let's talk about aliens. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's switch to the other side of the spectrum. There, have you actually? Let's divide that. Let's start with sighting. No, actually, you know what? Let's talk about beings. Have you seen any extraterrestrials? Anything that might fit in that category?
excuse me. Yeah, I have. I believe I brought a gray Backman one time after I was astral traveling.
Okay.
I know this might be a bit much, but when you when you were asking me earlier, and I didn't want to get into it then, but I was doing a lot of astral traveling experiments, and about 2, 3 years ago, and every night I was going through the experiments on a nightly basis. I was trying to do that to get more so I could sleep and sleep through the pain and stuff like that. And I know it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to do, but I was doing them every night so I could get to sleep. I was doing meditation and then going into astral travel at the point there to get to sleep.
Hmm.
And I know it's not the same thing. It's not really what it's intended for, but it would get me to a point where I could, even once I woke back up, then I could get back. I could fall asleep easily. I'd gone and done my meditation. I found, I got myself to relax. I got myself to start to float, went off. I went back through and I had a situation. I was in a fight. It was all dark, but there was stuff going on. And I remember being in a fight, in an encounter. And when I came back, I could feel the cord in my head. And my head was bruised and sore the next day. And it was up right up here in the crown. But when I came back, I sat up in bed. I grabbed my 357 Magnum, and I was holding it and pointing it right at the door. My right hand. I had my left hand trying to open up my eyeball on my left eye. My eye was going back and forth and jumping around so bad, and it would not let me open, but just a slit on my left eye, and I could see just as my eye was going sliding back, jumping back and forth. I could just make out that there was a gray standing at my bedroom doorway in the hall, just at the hall. And I kept my gun pointed on him. And I talked to him, told him, he needed to get gone and all that kind of stuff. I kept the gun pointed on him, and I kept myself sat up in bed, and I kept holding my eye as much as I could to get it open. But it was like overpowering how much the eye wanted to stay closed with it going back. It's such a weird feeling. I can still feel how the eye was almost jumping out from underneath my eyelid. You could feel it. It was just disgusting to feel the eye popping back and forth in there. And
was there any telepathic communication or anything like that going on with this gray?
Yeah, I could understand that. I didn't get words or anything like that, but I got emotions from him that he intended to do me harm.
He did.
Yeah, and
that's why
because I have. Yeah, and that's why when I pulled that straight up and I sat, pulled it straight up, right up in bed, and held it on him until he was gone, and that it must have been 15 minutes. It was like a standoff right there. And I don't know if he was keeping my eyes, keeping me in the in that last bit of
well,
tens
he was
or
trying
whatever.
to the communication aspect with the consciousness. If telepathy is a thing, if that is what's happening in that moment, the pressure in the brain could be putting pressure on your eyes at that same time. That could be just like a sign of how intense the action was in that moment, which is interesting. Do you think that it's possible for this shadow figure phenomenon to also be extraterrestrials, and it's just in this particular time you were just able to see it more clearer because you were in a more of an awakened state, or are they separate entities altogether?
That's what I'm trying to figure out with my psychologist, to see if she can help me through relaxation and some hypnotherapy, if I can start to find out and regress a little bit to bring some of those memories back, to see if those shadow figures when I was a child, if those were actually visitations or abductions, and if that's
They
what
also could be people too.
It could be, and that's the other thing. It was
Right.
was I being molested or something else going on? That's why I've not made a push on any of that, and I don't want to, and I don't want her to push in any direction. I just want to see if I can start.
But you do want to. You just want to see if there's more, right? You want to have a better understanding of what happened, so you can move forward.
Yeah, I don't care what it is, and I've kept my mind that way. I don't care what it is,
but
because there's been enough.
You knew what it was. You would be able to at least, deal with it appropriately once you acknowledge where it lies.
I've blocked out so much stuff, and I can't access it. There's just a blockage there. And when I go to, it was just like whenever my friend's dad died last week. I started getting really, first Charlie Watts died. Okay, I'm a huge Stones fan. Charlie Watts, the drummer for Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge fan of Charlie's. He was the soul of the Stones, and that affected me a lot, and I didn't think it would. Then Norm Macdonald come along. I was, he was a huge fan of his. Always loved to watch him. I mean, big time fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend's dad died, and that was more memories. So you start going back, and all these concerts and all the music, and all the times through my teenage years and college and stuff, watching Norm Macdonald on Letterman and stuff, and where I was at, and what was going on. All these memories started coming back to me in the last couple of weeks about, a lot of this stuff. And, experiencers go through so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't listen to one of them anymore and just say, oh, that don't sound right, or that this and this, and that's that. I have to listen to them and understand what they're going through at least, no matter what. At least give them a shot to understand what's going through their head and what they've been, what went down for them, and understand that one way or the other, they're believing it, and it could have been 100 aliens that came out of the field and came up there, or yeah, it could have been something that they imagined. But either way, they believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And
they still have the anxiety and the pain and everything else that goes with it. So we are about to hit the commercial break, but before we do that, you are opening up a lot, and I appreciate that. You are, as Chantel said, yeah, that's just brave. You're not. You're the very example, textbook example right now of the reason why we have the Experiencer Support Association, is because even if we don't know what it is, we can at least relate to that feeling that's associated with not having those answers in anything. And if we believe it to be a higher power, if we believe it to be something divine, then that's no different than us thinking it's a mental illness. That's what brings us together. So, I don't want to say we're all suffering, but pain also brings people together, and that's how we heal together, by understanding. And as you know, with the Rutowski thing, that for me, with that coming out, 5-year investigation, that was validation for me. I carried a lot of anger and a lot of mad stuff mainly because it took a mainstream media person to get the message out there. But finally, once it's out, I feel I'm learning that other people felt the same thing, and there's that validation. It's not an experience, but it's still a shared emotion. So you are not alone. And I am encouraging you to go to Experiencers Anonymous, because even if it's not anonymous for you, I mean, there's people there that could benefit from you as well, sharing your story. I don't want to say story, but sharing your experience, and regardless of where that comes from. And thank you so much for sharing that with me. I'm moved by it. This is the first episode that we've ever had where someone just laid it out just like that. So thank you so much. You okay?
Thank you.
All right. So what we're gonna do? We're just gonna pause right here. Okay. So we're gonna pause, and we'll continue after a message from our professional partners. Also, if you're listening to this live on KPNL Radio or future podcasts, remember to head over to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association to see the video that goes with the video, because you guys are listening to this. Remember, you are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association, and I'm with Kevin McDougal, and we will be back in a little bit and talk about